In this next issue of the Darth Vader comic series, somebody is coming back to Vader's life. Somebody that he had forgotten about. At the very least, he tried to forget about him, but now, more than 20 years later, he is back. We're talking about Master Yoda. As we know by the comics and movies, Master Yoda and Darth Vader never ended up meeting again. While Yoda dueled Sidious, Obi-Wan was battling Vader at the same time, and while the Sidious-Yoda duel fell into a stalemate, Yoda ended up retreating and Vader ended up losing his limbs and ultimately losing his battle to Obi-Wan. But if we switched it up, as Obi-Wan wanted to, he didn't want to fight his friend Anakin Skywalker. He wanted for Yoda to duel Vader and for him to duel Sidious. Yoda, though, being the smart one of the group, knew that Obi-Wan was not powerful enough to face Darth Sidious, and using defensive tactics against Sidious just simply would not work. Otherwise, we might have seen a Yoda-Vader duel finally at everybody's desire. I mean, it would make for an awesome fanfic. Unfortunately, it never really happened. While Vader is leaving for Polis Massa in the next issue, issue number 5, and trying to discover what happened to Padme and the child she birthed just before death, those recordings will show the truth. During this time, we all know that Luke left Yoda in a very tough situation. Yoda was nearing his end, and in the beginning of Return of the Jedi, he actually dies, leaving Luke with the heartwarming message that yes, he had finally become a Jedi. Now that burden would fall upon Luke to follow up on his father's footsteps, but not follow through being a Sith, but actually save the Jedi Order, somehow save himself from the Emperor, and bring balance to the Force. But as Yoda dies, this gives us the indication that Vader and Yoda never actually met after Order 66. During all those decades, Yoda went dormant on Dagobah and never really saw anyone except for Luke, at least what we know in canon. Well, Vader is about to be revisited by Yoda again during the recordings on Polis Massa. You see, once he arrives there, the first thing he needs to do is see the recordings of what actually happened, the holo recordings that shows the entire ordeal, Padme's birth, her death, and who surrounded her. The people who surrounded her were, of course, known to Anakin back then and to Vader now. That was Senator Bail Organa, who Anakin knew, and of course Yoda and Obi-Wan. The decision makers in this place that actually gave out the child Luke to be raised on Tatooine, and I doubt very much that Vader would find out about Leia, although I'm still kind of hesitant to say that because Vader is scheming and he might have known all this time about Leia, just played a mind trick basically on Luke, trying to intimidate him by tricking him that he just found out about Luke's sister on the Death Star. Vader might have already known about Leia and was just teasing Luke. But I digress, we will see in the next issue. But what I want to focus on is Yoda and Vader. You see, these two people are connected forever. Yoda, in fact, many times taught Anakin, took the responsibility of teaching Anakin outside of Obi-Wan. You could see the multitude of factors that led to Anakin becoming so powerful. He had learned from every possible way, from all these grand Jedi, from Qui-Gon to Yoda and even Obi-Wan. Now he was under the influence of the Sith and Darth Sidious, but back then, as a Jedi, he was prominent. Now he was watching another one of his masters in Yoda, crushing his spirit and destroying his life, grabbing his child and hiding him in secret. This is what will infuriate Vader in the end, and he will go on a killing spree or on a destructive path. At the very least, that's what the synopsis says about issue number 5 and issue number 6 as well. This is why Palpatine will punish Darth Vader, because I do assume that Darth Vader, in his rampant nature, in his crazy machinations, will not only destroy everybody around him, including Sabé and every rebel he might find on Polis Massa, but he will actually go against Palpatine as well, knowing full well that Palpatine was the one responsible for all of this. He had tricked Anakin back when he was a Jedi that he could save Padme's life, and now he had lied to him about his children. What we know about Vader and Anakin are two things. These two people differ in emotion. Anakin was very much into his emotions. He would be angry one second and happy the next. This is what led him to slaughter all the sand people on Tatooine as Anakin. He just burst into anger. Darth Vader was very calm and even keel. He would pretend to be all powerful, but I think in this instance Anakin will come through not in light, but in anger and Polis Massa. He will just lose it when he sees the recordings of Padme slowly dying while Obi-Wan is holding her hands and Yoda is right beside them as well, guarding the decision to hide his children. This will be the next step in him losing his mind totally. In short, Yoda will be back in Vader's life, and this is the part where it will be fascinating to see. The past colliding for Vader is something fascinating. It's like a car crash, basically, where you just can't look away. Every time these comics bring back his past, Vader is just stumbling around. He is trying to collect himself, but it is just too darn hard. Him trying to be a Sith Lord is quickly unraveling. Beyond the 5th issue, in the 6th issue, I believe, is when Sidious will rein him in as a Sith Lord and as an apprentice of a Sith. Vader will lose sight of that, as he is tending to do all the time, losing the sight of the Empire and going after his own personal business. This is exactly what Palpatine hates about Vader. Palpatine numerous times, even in Legends and now in canon, desperately tries to explain to Vader that the past is dead. Leave it be. We need to focus on building this empire and occupying as much of the galaxy as we can, having them under their rule. This is Palpatine's motto. He doesn't think about his family. He doesn't think about anybody in his life except for expansion. And this is what Vader doesn't understand about Palpatine, as he is not the great pragmatist that Palpatine is. Vader is a great enforcer and he can rule and destroy everybody in his path, but Palpatine thinks differently, entirely differently. Even though he is all-powerful, Palpatine is one of those people, or one of those Sith, that plans ahead, decades ahead. In fact, that's how he became an emperor. He destroyed an entire Jedi Order, not a single Jedi, but he besmirched the Jedi name that stood strong for thousands of years. Palpatine achieved this single-handedly, and now he is trying to expand his empire by any means and destroying anybody who doubts them. But Vader keeps on going on his own adventures, trying to find Obi-Wan and take his revenge, and now his child Luke, he is even more fascinated about that and not focusing on the goal at hand, which is expansion of the Empire. This is what Palpatine ultimately desires from Vader, and it is hard for him to obtain that. How do you think Vader will react once he sees Yoda on those holo recordings on Polis Massa? Talk to me down below in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and if you enjoyed, leave a thumbs up down below, subscribe for dailies. Now you have an awesome day, Star Wars fans. I'll see you in the next video, and may the Force be with you. Until then.